you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. Why we always looking for more? 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 Why we always looking for been trying to change.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome here as we get set for some dirt track racing in Season 5 of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series. This is race number 7 at the Springfield Mile as these drivers are getting ready to have the mud slinging and trying to see if they can, some of them get their footing, some of them keep the consistency up, but the primary drivers here in Duracell Cup Series competition. Coming off the heels of what was a very interesting Bristol race last week, where we saw less cautions than the two previous races at Atlanta and ISM combined. Really shocking. One would think that Bristol would be the Wreckfest race, although it did have a caution come out in the middle of pit stops, which kind of shuffled things up, but at the end of the day, it was the dominant car, Ryan Acosta, going to victory lane for Chevrolet's first victory of the season. The odds are in their favor, at least right now, of maybe picking up win number 2, as the Chevrolet Bowties have the front row for today's 60-lapper. Austin LaPlante going to start on pole, and he'll be alongside of Cody Smart, who's only making his second start of his career. We, of course, saw him make his debut a few weeks ago, and had a very good performance for himself as well. Trey Wright's going to be the highest starting Ford, as he'll be rolling off from the 3rd position, and he'll be alongside of Patrick Smith in the 77 car. Of course, the 77 team looking for their second win of the year. They had the win with Roberto Crown Jr. back at Las Vegas, which at this point in time has the 77 team in the current playoffs. Let's take a look at said standings and give you an idea of what the playoffs would be looking like at this point in time. So we had a deadlock between the 19 team and the 8 team heading into Bristol last week. Matthew Rodriguez bested Pierce Crone. And so, therefore, a 4-point advantage for the defending championship team. KB Racing Enterprises 93 is right there in the third position with Gunther Motorsports and 09 of S3 Motorsports right behind inside of the top 5. Only 18 points separate the top 5 in the point standings right now. Of course, the 8 and the 93 locked in with their victories with Matt Haas at Daytona and William Micros at Manassas. You take a look at the other guys down there, though. A pretty good comeback there for the one team out of Michael Norm Motorsports. They're back up inside the top 10 in 7th. And then also the 27 and the 65 teams making appearances up inside the top 10 for the first time this season. We'll see if they can keep that momentum going. As we look a little bit further down the list, both the Lake Effect Autosports teams are just outside of the top 10, although the 74 team with Bradley Ream, they've got a win, which locks them in a playoff position, as does the 77 team that we just talked about with Roberto Crown Jr.'s victory, and Ryan Acosta's win last week puts the 32 team for what was 27th in the point standings up 9 spots to now 18th in points coming into this one. Of course, that win leapfrogs them over everybody else for a playoff spot. The best of the rest down at the bottom of your point standings look like this. TCW Racing's car that went to victory lane with Cole Baker back in Atlanta, they're still around 21st in points, looking for a much better run. Then you look at all these other teams down here that are looking for decent outings, including the 39 team and the 31 team. Both of those cars represented today have defending winners of this race, but they are both starting pretty deep in the field. And then, of course, kind of ironic that our front row, the 48 and the 95, are the drivers that are next to last and last in the current point standings. But we're going to get you your starting grid. We're going to give you some more stories coming into today's race at Springfield in just a moment. But first, let's go down for pre-race ceremonies, beginning with today's singing of the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Drivers, start your engines!
But thank you for welcoming us into your living rooms here today on a Saturday afternoon at the Springfield Mile. Just a reminder that we have races just about every Saturday at this timestamp, so be sure to click the bell to be notified when we go live each weekend. As here's your starting lineup for today's race at Springfield. Austin LaPlante, the pole sitter, alongside of second starting Cody Smart, Trey Wright, and Patrick Smith making up row number 2. Charles Sanford and James Qualls will be in row number 3. Jack Mitchell and Amanda Evans, they're in row 4, and then Andrew Lemke and Carter Friedson, they complete the top 10. Phil Parker is going to roll off 11th with Tim Walsh in 12th, Nick Gunther 13th, Ryan Butcher 14th, Michael Wayne Robinson in the 15th position alongside of Cody Lamas in 16th. Row 9 is going to find Benny Watson and Carson Gum, the current team points leader. Kyle Matthews and Cole Baker, they're in row 10. Row 11 with Levi McIntyre and Jesse Turner. Row 12 with Dylan Young and Matt Haas. Pedro Lucas and Keith Batson back in row 13. And Joshua Osborne, Dylan Poteet bring up the 14th and final row. Keith Batson, Dylan Poteet from 26th and 28th The two former winners of this event, Poti won the very first Springfield race back in Season 1. Keith Batson won the last Springfield race last season in Season 4. Let's get ready to get dirty here as we are green flag racing at the Springfield Mile. Plant pulling away as cars fan out on the back straightaway. A couple sliding up there and scraping the concrete walls. We'll go 3 wide for the runner-up position. Lemke drives it in deep on Jack Mitchell and Trey Wright. Tries to get the momentum off the corner. He clears the 38. He might clear the 0-1 by the time they get to turns 1 and 2. And indeed he will, but Mitchell says not so fast. He's going to go right down to the steel guardrail for the runner-up position. See, scraping the wall there, Andrew Lemke in the 12 machine. You can scrape it, you just can't clobber it. Because if you clobber it, these drivers are going to have to make, I believe, just 1 pit stop here today. And if they've got damage, that's an extended stay on pit road. You don't want to spend any longer on pit lane than you possibly can. A couple of changes made to the dirt package this season will probably be also taking place at other dirt tracks like DuQuoin. A little bit lower RPM, so lower speed, allowing drivers to have a little bit more downforce when they come off the corner. The back end not wanting to slide out quite as much. And then as well, enlarging the fuel cell. Not as much fuel consumption for these drivers, so they should be able to make it this 60-lapper on at least just 1 pit stop. Charles Sanford has now moved up into the 4th position. And here's the battle for 5th between a couple of blue ovals, Trey Wright in the 38, James Qualls in the 17. 17 team right now sitting 13th in points, the 38 just behind them 14th in the standings. These are two teams that really struggled in the beginning stages of this season. They've done a nice job of slowly, methodically working their way up as Chevrolet 1, 2, 3, 4 at this point in time. Lemke starting to close in on Austin LaPlante. That last time by, they ran identical lap times, which were their fastest lap of the race so far, at a 31.064. Another big reason why the rules package was changed on these cars was to make sure that only 1 pit stop would take place because, unfortunately, here at the Springfield Mile, if cars come down pit lane, some of them take an abrupt left-hand turn into their pit box and end up hitting the steel guardrail wall there, separating the infield from pit lane. And that causes them to have extra damage, which they have to fix. So the thought process is that the 1 pit stop, the money stop, and you've got to nail that pit stop to be able to, if not win the race, at least have a decent finish. We just had ourselves a pass there for the 7th position. Matt Haas getting around Amanda Evans. Remember, the 8 team was tied with the 19 team last week for the points lead. They've been up at the top of the point standings pretty much the entire season ever since Matt Haas took the victory in the season opening Daytona 500. But now they've lost the points lead to the 19 team, and Matt Haas is closing in on this battle for 4th place as Trey Wright and James Qualls continue to battle side by side. Haas and Evans going to get into this mix. They're making a now 4-man fight for what would be the 4th position. Where's the 19 car in all of this right at the moment? Whoa, wait a minute. We got some pit stops going on already. That's Cole Baker. That's unscheduled. So he got right side damage there? I think he does. Yep, he's gotten into the wall. You can see it right there on the right side of the Arizona Ice-T Toyota Camry. That is a tough break for Cole Baker, who the last time he was in that race car took the checkered flag back in Atlanta. So a definitely unscheduled pit stop for him. Matt Haas has made his way around Trey Wright and James Qualls. Amanda Evans looking to do the same. Let's see if we can go back now and find the 19 car. There he is. Carson Gum, the defending champion, right now in the 23rd position, trying to get around Keith Batson as Baker returns to the track. I don't think we're in the fuel window right now for Cole Baker to be able to make it the rest of the way. I just don't see that happening. I think he's going to have to make another pit stop before this race is over, so he's lost 1 lap already. And We'll see if it cycles to him losing 2 laps. I'm not certain yet. But very unfortunate out of the gate for the TCW Racing entry as Kyle Matthews and Cody Lamas going to mix it up. This is for the 15th position. 09 team right now 5th in the point standings. The 1 team 7th in the point standings. And there's Carter Friesen in the 6 car, trying to get by Benny Watson. Those 2 teammates now this season out of Pigeon Racing. It's a battle for 13th. Whoa, look at Watson get loose there. Did you see that back end want to come around? Would have loved to have had a helmet cam on board with Watson and watch the hand motion in there, grabbing onto the steering wheel and trying to catch that race car. As the run goes on, that they're going to get that loose sensation more and more, because dirt tracks are very different to asphalt tracks in terms of tire temperature. When you're at the asphalt tracks, you want those tires to be as cool as possible because it's going to give you more speed and more grip. As they heat up, it's going to get slicker. Well, if you're here at a dirt track, you want the tires to be as warm as possible because then they actually have more grip. When they start getting cooler as the run goes on, that's when the car starts to get slick. As, ooh, someone pounded the wall up there. Was that Qualls in the 17, I do believe? Saw the debris flying back at Dylan Poteet. And Poteet now falling back into the clutches of Ryan Butcher. This is inside of the top 10 for the 9th position. Continue to follow that battle here between the former winner Dylan Poteet, who, by the way, started this race from the 28th position, is already up to 8th place. So a nice job of quickly working his way through the field for Dylan Poteet. Up 20 spots, and we've only completed 12 laps of this race. But he won the very first race here back in season 1. If I recall correctly, I think he was in a... Yeah, he wasn't a Chevrolet. It was the Baja Blast Chevrolet for Michael Norman Motorsports. That was back when it was Dylan Poteet, Matthew Rodriguez, Michael Norman, and Matt McIntyre with the team for M&M at that time. Then we mentioned Keith Batson, the defending winner of this race. The other 2 former winners of this one, Michael Norman back in season 2, and then Zach Rogers in season 3. As all these drivers sliding up the racetrack, you're starting to see who's got the slicker tires and who doesn't. Whoever can hook the bottom really has the grip on their side. And that would not appear to be Andrew Lemke, who might actually be dealing with something a little bit more than slick tires. I think he might have gotten into the wall at some point here, and he is off the pace, losing spots hand and fist. His teammate Amanda Evans going by. Cody Smart about to do the same. See if we can get a view of the right side of that car. No, he appears to be okay. Maybe he got the wall and just lost momentum. But definitely lost a ton of spots. He was running around, what, the 3rd position. He's all the way back now to last time scored. Yeah, where was he scored? Oh, he's a lap down. So he must have made an unscheduled stop. Jesse Turner in the 47 is also listed a lap down. Where's the 47 car? There he is. So we must not have seen it. We saw Baker's pit stop, but the 47 and the 12 must have also made unscheduled trips to pit road, because they have fallen down a lap to the race leader, which right now has caught up to more traffic. That's Pedro Lucas in the 21 and Dylan Young in the 2 that Austin LaPlante is about to go around. Whoa! Almost up into the 2 of Dylan Young was LaPlante, as he slid up there about a groove and a half. Jack Mitchell trying to run him down, but he's currently running 5.5 seconds behind. Matt Haas currently about 8.5 seconds off the race leader in 3rd, and Charles Sanford a little more than 9 seconds back in that 4th position. Then there's the battle for 5th, which is going on between Ryan Butcher, James Qualls, Trey Wright and company. Ooh. Boy, these cars are not handling good right now, and when they're not handling good and they're battling with each other, that's when you could possibly see a yellow flag come out. Lant, though, still turning very good lap times. Last time by 31.262. That's only about 2/10 off what he ran last time, or for his fastest lap, I should say. So still keeping pretty good pace there, as he's about to reel in the 93 of Michael Wayne Robinson, 23rd place car. And you can see that looks like LaPlante's able to get through the center a lot better than other drivers, especially these cars that he is lapping. And that's helping him with his drive off. We're going to keep it here on the battles through the field. Going to step aside for a brief moment. Keep it here as you're watching the 7th race of the 5th season of the Duracell Cup Series at the Springfield Mile. We welcome you back to live coverage at the Springfield Mile here for the Duracell Cup Series, as you've been watching the battle for the 6th position, 5th, 6th position actually, between Trey Wright and Ryan Butcher. Not much going on up here at the front of the field. Matt Haas and Charles Sanford, they've been kind of nose to tail, 3rd and 4th most of this race. Jack Mitchell trying to cut his way through traffic, as LaPlante setting a blistering pace right now. Has put several other drivers down laps. Keith Batson, Nick Gunther, they've fallen a lap down to the race leader now. Patrick Smith just went on the hit list, and now Cody Lamast is up next in the 19th position. This 48 team came to play here today, got the pole position. They've led every lap so far in this one. So it'll be interesting to see how they do on pit road. That could be the Achilles heel, but all of a sudden we were talking about Chevrolet and the fact they couldn't win. They were 0 for 5 to start the season, but then last week, Ryan Acosta, dominating performance, led, I think it was 139 laps of the 150-lap race en route to that victory, and now LaPlante following up this week. Is look at this, he's going to take it 3 wide with Phil Parker and Levi McIntyre. He's going to pass them both and now goes to work on Tim Walsh. And I noticed as we're nearing halfway, I noticed that there were some drivers' pit signs that were waving on pit lane. So I believe we are getting to the point where drivers are going to be thinking about making green flag pit stops. Pedro Lucas was one of the drivers that pit, and there you see what I was talking about. The execution on pit road has to be perfect. Lucas apparently pulled in too close, hit the steel guardrail. Look at the damage it's done to the left side of that machine. That's something that these guys all are going to have to worry about when they come down pit road, including our race leader. I don't know what it is about the pit lane that causes it. I mean, pit road itself is also dirt, and so it could be the transition from one dirt surface to another dirt surface for the pit box. There's of course lines that are painted there to distinguish where the pit boxes are, the area of the pit boxes, and maybe the tires hit the paint. It's definitely something that these drivers have to deal with every time we come to Springfield, and then as well when we end up going to DuQuoin. Mitchell has pulled away from now third place Charles Sanford, who got around Matt Haas, and Haas has lost ground. I don't know if Matt got held up there behind the 93 or not. It's hard to tell if drivers are pitting too because they're turning such low RPMs. It sounds like they're slowing coming off the corner. Trey Wright, big save. As James Qualls trying to hold off Dylan Poteet, Ryan Butcher, and Trey Wright. This has been the best battle on the racetrack right now, from about the 5th position back to 10th. But this is all going on a total of 23 seconds behind the race leader. It's really been an interesting last 4 weeks, to be honest, because you look at the tracks we've gone to, and you look at Atlanta, you think fuel conservation, tire conservation, long green flag run, and it was a caution fest. You then go to ISM. You expect a couple of early cautions with the field bunched up and drivers trying to go down to the apron to make moves, merging back up into turn 1. But that one was a wreck fest. We didn't really see pit strategy play out in that one. Then we go to Bristol. You go to Bristol and you think, okay, there's going to be a lot of beating and banging, exchanging of sheet metal. You're going to see a lot of yellow flags. We didn't. We saw, what was it, 1, 2 cautions? I think it was only 1. And now here today, we've gone caution-free at this point in time, and it is an absolute runaway for Austin LaPlante. Benny Watson's on pit road in the 32 car. I believe he had already been put a lap down, so cutting his losses and coming to pit lane. All drivers from this point on should be able to make it on fuel. As Watson's down and away, Dylan Young under fire from Joshua Osborne. Dylan Young, I believe, has he made a pit stop? He has not. I believe the only drivers at this point in time, according to what I've got here, that have come to pit lane: Andrew Lemke, Cole Baker, Pedro Lucas, and now add Benny Watson to that list. So there's still a bunch of drivers that have to come to pit lane, including this guy. Now, I'm not certain if a driver gets left side damage, if they're going to stay on pit road, because Pedro Lucas, you see there, he's got left side damage from when he hit the steel guardrail, and he has not come back down. So drivers might actually cut their losses and go back out there with their car damaged on the left side. And to be honest, I don't see why they wouldn't do that, because at a dirt track, it's not really as much about aero as it is about handling. And if you've got a damaged race car at a dirt track, it's not really going to alter your speed that much. A lot of traffic here for Austin LaPlante to deal with. Ooh, gracious. been doing pretty well, though, getting through it. As I believe the 8's coming to pit road, Matt Haas. Saw him waving his hand out the window, indicating he was slowing out of turn 4. Sometimes drivers will go down there to the apron off turn 4, use that as a racing line coming off the corner. So you have to make sure you communicate with all the drivers around you, especially out of that final turn, that you are slowing, that you are going to come down to pit lane. This is 9th place, Trey Wright, that Austin LaPlante is about to catch up to. The 48 team. Are we about to end up having the, what would it have been, the 3rd week out of 4 where the driver dead last in points, or the team dead last in points that's made all the starts this season goes to victory lane? We might be, because we ended up having that happen at Atlanta when Cole Baker went to victory lane. The 11 team was last in the points of the team that had made all the starts. Last week, the 32 team was dead last in the points of the teams that had made all the starts. And now the 48 team is 27th of 28 cars. Of course, the 28th car, the 95 team out of Kevin Gardner's Motorsports, has made a limited number of starts so far this season. So theoretically, they would be dead last in points of the teams that have made all starts, and they might be going to victory lane. That would be 3 out of the last 4 weeks. Just goes to show you can't count anybody out in this series. You cannot count any team out whatsoever. As Amanda Evans, Dylan Pote, James Qualls are about to go a lap down. I mean, the 48 car looks like he's getting 5 miles per hour more off of the corners than anybody else. These are drivers inside the top 10 that he is lapping. Ryan Butcher goes a lap down, 4th place. There's only 3 drivers on the lead lap right now. LaPlante, Mitchell, and Sanford. And there is Sanford. He is just now coming out of turn 4. LaPlante is going into turn 3. We could end up having the entire field get lapped in this race. Bill Parker's got some left side damage. Has he been to pit road? Yes, he has. Matt Haas indeed was on pit lane as well. Only 7 drivers have been to pit lane in this race, according to the counter. As here's a good battle going on for 13th. Got 4 cars in it. 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. This is Walsh, Lamas, Levi McIntyre, and Carson Gum. Of course, every position on the racetrack, even if you're a lap down, is important. Every point is important. So these drivers, even though they may not be in the hunt for the win, they're all battling for top 5s, top 10s, and top 15s. Amanda Evans, James Qualls, and Trey Wright. All 3 of these teams up inside of the top 15 in the point standings. The 65 team the highest, 9th in points, as they're reeling in Nick Gunther. Now Nick Gunther is 2 laps down. These other cars around are 1 lap down. And Dylan Pote trying to reel in Ryan Butcher. This is for 4th place. Remember, Dylan Pote started from dead last, and he has worked his way up into the top 5. So a great run for that driver out of Pigeon Racing. That team's 25th in the point standings too, so needed a good run. The other driver, the other former winner here at this racetrack, the defending winner, Keith Batson, he hasn't fared quite as well. He's currently running in the 17th position. I remember both of those drivers, Batson and Poteet, started this race in 26th and 28th, respectively, so towards the rear of the field. Really, Poteet is the only driver that I'm seeing that really has been able to pick up a lot of spots since the drop of the green flag. The other driver would be Joshua Osborne. He's up to 10th, and he started 27th. But really, nobody else towards the rear of the field has worked their way up to the front. Matt Haas had for a time, because he was moving up there with Dylan Poteet, but since coming to pit road, he has lost a ton of positions, and right now runs back in the 20th position. Laps taken away as we continue under green. We have not seen a caution flag yet today. These drivers, they'll be making their next start in about 3 weeks' time. The secondary drivers will take over as we're going international next week. We're heading to the land down under to New Zealand. First road course stop of the season at Pukekohe Raceway. Should be a good one. A couple of former winners. Well, actually, one former winner of that track in the field here, that being James Qualls. He won the, I believe it was the inaugural race back in Season 3. I think we've only run Pukekohe twice. Charles Belding, the defending winner, he will look to go back-to-back next week, as he is the secondary driver for the 19 team. Which, by the way, if you're wondering about the battle for the current points lead, it would appear that that is currently still in the favor of the 19 team. Ooh, a little contact there between Charles Sanford and Phil Parker, as I believe as the 0-1 hit pit lane. Jack Mitchell was running second. Oh no, he is in second. Oh, Charles Sanford's a lap down. Mitchell's the only car on the lead lap. Okay. I was wondering why the 0-3 was directly behind the 48, but he actually got lapped. So we've only got 2 drivers on the lead lap now. I'm still wondering. Oh, I was just about to say if the leader was even going to ever have to pit. And right on cue, here comes LaPlante. Closing in on 10 laps to go. Let's watch and see if they can complete this pit stop perfectly. Up to now, everything has been perfect for the Allies Chevrolet. He's going to have that number 1 pit stall. Pulls in rather slowly, gingerly, but he does not hit the steel guardrail. So it looks like it's going to be a good pit stop for him. Now the question is, what about the other drivers around him? Does Sanford and Mitchell risk it? Do they try and stay out? Were they able to save? Remember LaPlante, the blistering speed he was setting? Could that have been he was using more fuel? Could other drivers have been backing down purposely to save fuel to make it the rest of the way? Poteet's in from 4th place. We're still waiting to see about the 0-1 and the 0-3. There's Mitchell. Looks like he's low off of 4. Is he coming in this time? Yes, he is. So he's going to give up 2nd place. Tim Walsh is coming down as well. Walsh is in 13th. He was 2 laps down. And Sanford's coming down this time as well. So this should potentially cycle the lead, I believe, back over to Austin LaPlante. As here come a bunch more of the leaders inside of the top 10. Butcher, Patrick Smith, James Qualls, Keith Batson. Smith and Batson, I believe, both were running 2 laps down. Oh, and Batson's just hit the pit wall. So that's going to be an extended stay for the defending winner. As LaPlante, I believe, is still going to be scored the leader this time by. Let's see as it updates. Yes, he is still the race leader. He had practically the whole field down a lap with the exception of Jack Mitchell. Mitchell really was the only one, if he was able to make it on fuel, that would have maybe been able to make enough circuits to bypass LaPlante and maybe keep him at bay. But now he's gotten through the pit stop. Now it's just mechanical failure, I think, be the only thing that could take LaPlante out of winning this thing. He's got the fuel to make it to the end. He's going to hit the line for 7 laps to go. As more drivers on pit lane, Amanda Evans, Nick Gunther making their final pit stops of the day. Nobody up near the top of the leaderboard was able to make it and stretch it on fuel. I think they were trying to, but they came up anywhere from 7 to 9 laps short. It was probably the only way they were going to be able to beat Austin LaPlante here today as well. LaPlante's got, I want to say, 2 dirt victories in his career. I know he's got at least 1. It was back in Season 3 when we ran in the Chili Bowl, I believe it was. He and Jacob Thibodeau pulled the Northeast Motorsports sweep. And that, if I recall correctly, was also Jacob Thibodeau's first win of his career. So LaPlante's done it before. He's gotten it done on dirt. We're going to try and be back here for the finish. We got to take another break. Keep it here as we're going to follow Austin LaPlante in the final laps here at Springfield. we're gonna have to stop the stream here, guys. We're gonna post the results later. LaPlante's probably gonna win this race, so apologies, but some importance come up, so we will see you guys next week for Puka Cup. Thanks for tuning in.